You're listening to the Everyday Legends podcast, the show that is dedicated to championing everyday men and supporting you in getting more from life, love, and the everyday. I'm your host, Mike Campbell, and the aim of this podcast is pretty simple: to support you in building rock-solid foundations, legendary integrity, and kick-ass relationships with plenty of stories, a load of lessons, and a solid dose of some loving straight talk. So let's get started. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Everyday Legends podcast. I'm your host, Mike Campbell, and today I am bringing you clearly quite a Kiwi accent there today. That was almost Australian, wasn't it? And a slightly blocked nose, so bear with me. I'm bringing you a solo episode on purpose. This is going to be punchy. I'm going to be purposeful. Now, why do I want to bring you an episode on purpose? I have kind of done a little bit of an episode on purpose before, but this is going to be a little bit different. Now, this is popped into my mind for many reasons. One, because it's really fucking important. Men need purpose. The masculine needs purpose. We need to apply ourselves to things that have meaning, that ask us to tap into our talents and our strengths, and that allow us to do something that has meaning for ourselves and those around us. That's a pretty simple thing that's very, very important. And so we'll touch on that stuff, but also because, hey, guess what? It turns out a lot of dudes are fucking terrible when it comes to purpose. That's a very blanket statement. And so what I'll narrow in on that with is this. A lot of guys have zero purpose. They have a terrible and poor and just an abomination of a definition and an idea of what purpose is. It's something that comes up a lot in my work, in my coaching program, in the Everyday Legends Academy. We talk about this heavily in Pillar 2. Pillar 2 is all really about, like, who do you want to be? And what do you want for yourself, for your life? What do you want to create? And so in that, we have to tap into, what do we give a shit about? What do we value? What do I want for myself, i.e., what matters to me? What brings me meaning? And so we dive heavily into that. Now, one of the things that prevents us really tapping into that is, first of all, understanding what drives me now. It's very easy to sit down and go, I want this for my life. And, I pine for these great big things. And I want this house on the hill and all this other shit that's often still driven by a lot of our, in ELA, we use this term villains, a lot of our shit, really, a lot of our fear-based and pain avoidance-based drivers, right? I want money because I don't want to be poor. I want status because I feel like I have low self-worth and I'm not very important and I don't deserve this and that. And so if I get the status and the money and the job, maybe that will make me feel like I'm good enough. So my purpose is to apply myself to things that will bring that perhaps external source of validation. Let's say, as an example. Then we get caught in this monumental trap. And I see this, and this is why we most definitely deal with this in ELA, is first of all, we get stuck living this idea of who we think we're supposed to be, who will be important and valued and respected. And that takes on many, many forms. But it becomes this identity that we form based on what we think will be successful, accepted, and a respectable man, forgetting who we want to be. And so in the work in ELA, we start to uncover what's all the shit that's got in the way of who you are, that has formed who you think you need to be, your masks and your armor that you put on into the world to say, hey, here's me, this is my safe version. This is the version that I put out into the world that I want you to appreciate and like. And often who we are gets lost beneath that. When we can kind of get clear on that and get that shit out of the way, we can actually start to tap into, okay, so if we move that shit aside, who you want to be for the world so that you're important and valued and recognized and appreciated and approved of and all that kind of stuff. And we can get to who are you really and who do you want to be? And when I say who do you want to be, I don't mean, I want to be Ryan Reynolds. No, meaning what man do you want to be? Like you amplified at your best. Who do you want to be? At your best authentic self. Who do you want to be? That then allows us to tap truly into what is meaningful for you, not based on the value systems of your family and your parents and your culture and your society that aren't necessarily fully yours. Of course, we're going to share value systems from where we grew up, but take ownership of them. Give them your twist, your authenticity, your authorship. And so on an innate level, we understand that purpose is important. And then on a conditioned level, we understand that purpose is important because we have this fucking belief, this misnomer, I think, in the world of personal development, that everyone should be living their purpose, find your passion and live your purpose. And I just think that is the fluffiest piece of shit advice ever. And where that leads a lot of men who innately tap into the importance of I need purpose, they take that and think, yeah, exactly. I need to have this big purpose. It needs to be the thing in my life that brings me everything, every sense of meaning, of fulfillment, of joy, like of that feeling that sits in me when I apply myself to something that I really give a shit about. It needs to bring me all the money and remuneration and financial security and growth for me and my family so we can provide and blah, 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 blah. What a giant fucking expectation that is to put on yourself, to find your one purpose. Who do you think you are? Now, I say that, and that sounds really harsh, but we perpetuate this idea of finding your one purpose, like you need to be Nelson Mandela or something. Most people are fucking ordinary, and that's okay. I'm ordinary. You're ordinary. Now, there's this quote. I'm going to bastardize this because I'm trying to remember this in the moment from Sir Edmund Hillary. He was the first man to climb Mount Everest. And it says something like this. Humans don't decide to become extraordinary. They decide to accomplish extraordinary things, i.e., ordinary people accomplish great things when they apply themselves with purpose, with meaning, but that needs individual accuracy. That is not about being my one purpose is to be the person who climbs Everest. No, but I get purpose from. And this is the key difference that I want to talk to you guys about. So many men get caught on trying to find their one purpose instead of living with purpose. And so we get caught in that massive expectation loop. This one thing needs to be my purpose, provide me all the fulfillment and satisfaction in life and all the remuneration of financial security to provide for me and my family and whatever it is. It's such a huge expectation. And so we get into that loop of never meeting that expectation, getting let down by it, possibly beating ourselves up. Put your hands up listening if you're one of those guys who gets into the loop of high expectation, then you don't meet them, and then you beat yourself up, and then you're very hard on yourself, and you have this story that I'm my harshest critic. Of course you are. Every fucking dude is his harshest critic, bro. We're in this loop, and we think, but if I lower my expectations, then what am I? I have no expectations. I'm useless. I'm lazy. That's the other end of the spectrum. Lowering your standard from some ridiculously high expectation of needing to find your one purpose, like you're the next Gandhi, might just simply mean making something more achievable, more realistic, and more aligned for you without having to be the next God. So we get caught in that loop. Oh, shit, but I should be able to do that. And I should, and I should, and I should, all these shoulds. And so that just compounds it. Oh, shit, well, there I go. So then I set my high expectations again. And I go through this job. Is it giving me this huge sense of purpose that I've been led to believe and started to believe myself that I should have? And so I don't get anywhere. If this is you, if you've bought into this, and two things. One, welcome to the club, bro. My invitation is to go easy on yourself and to let go of that. Two, I actually want you to stop listening to this. In a moment, I want you to pause this if this is you, and I want you to reach out to me and let me know. Hit me up on social media. Mike, I've bought into that absolute bullshit, find your one purpose dream. Because here's the thing, much like confidence is another thing, men think that we need to find purpose, right, and live my one purpose And I also need to find confidence and build confidence. But those things are byproducts. We tend to think that one day I'm just going to be magically hit with purpose or magically hit with confidence. Like I'm going to wake up in the night and some fairy has come and sprinkled purpose and confidence dust on me. And then boom, I'm this hugely confident and purposeful man. You know, it's like those people that you deem to be confident and or purposeful. You can separate or combine the two here if you want. We're just magically blessed with it. You know, like, who should we say? Someone in the public eye, let's say Richard Branson, all right? He's a dude who seems pretty purposeful, like he was just magically blessed with it. I don't know much of his really personal story, but I would just call bullshit on that. Purpose and confidence are byproducts. It's a process of starting something. We're often, as men, wanting to grow into, I want to be confident in this thing here. And so I'm hoping that I'll just magically be bestowed with the confidence to then do it. No, you do the thing and then you become more confident and you get more confident. There's confidence in a fucking nutshell. It's the cheat sheet. And it's the same with purpose. When I can choose to live with purpose, I apply myself with intention, I will feel more purposeful, and things that create more meaning for me will start to appear. So the key here is to live with purpose. Now, one of the points here is this. I did a teaching in my coaching academy, the Everyday Legends Academy recently, where we dove into this, and I really shook this belief up a little bit with a pretty, I think, dope analogy and this teaching for the guys. Now, I've decided to take that teaching, edit it up, and turn it into a really punchy mini course that you guys can dive into. This is kind of what led me into talking about this on the podcast. You can get that. It's $47 Australian. You'll be able to find it on the links and all that kind of stuff here, where we break that down and make it really clear on how you can live with purpose instead of trying to find your one purpose, because it will keep cock blocking you. No, I'm different. I just got to, there's bigger things for me. I know there's more available for me. There is, but it's not your one true purpose. There's higher purpose, and we'll talk about that in the teaching. But here, what I want to share today is some examples of finding purpose isn't necessarily about some big thing. Can be, right? I get immense purpose in supporting men and getting past all of this shit that prevents us being the men that we can be for ourselves and our lives. Immense purpose from that, but it's not my one purpose. Ludicrous. So let me speak to some points on purpose. I'm going to bring this all the way down to nothing. I talk about this in my coaching academy quite a bit, this example, because it's so fucking mundane. Doing the dishes, washing up. I dislike that. I dislike doing the dishes. I really do. I dislike it. So I think about, okay, how can I get myself to do it, right? Because otherwise, this is other examples in our lives are things like going to the gym, eating healthily, things that we should do, we know we want to do, but I just don't seem disciplined. I don't have that motivation. Discipline and motivation are a load of shit, and lack clarity, really, on the reason why. So my equivalent for you is the dishes. I dislike doing the dishes, but sometimes I have to fucking do them. Do I leave it until my wife nags at me to do it? No, one, because that's not fair on her. Nagging someone is not a nice thing to have to do. And I'm not saying that she would nag, but it disempowers everyone in the relationship, really, in that situation. So then I can empower myself and I can go, why do the dishes? Now, there's an obvious one, so they're fucking done, but that's not meaningful enough to me. So then I connect to this. When the countertop is a mess, ugh, I don't like that. I do not like that feeling. When I come into the kitchen, and I come into the kitchen a lot for many reasons, I eat a lot and I cook a lot. I very much like the feeling of space when there's a clean and clear benchtop kitchen counter space. That brings me a sense of peace, a sense of space. I like that. It sits with my nervous system. So there's one purpose for doing the dishes and the cleaning up, because it brings me a sense of peace and space. Two, I know that's very similar for my wife. Not necessarily the sense of space and all that, but she very much likes to have a clean bench top, and she very much dislikes to have a messy one. And so another purpose that I can connect to for doing the dishes and the cleaning up is, that is a positive for my relationship. Not that I'm trying to get brownie points, but I know that my wife enjoys that. Simple. I've just connected to two reasonably powerful points of purpose as to why do the dishes. That's an example of purpose in action. See how that's nothing about my big purpose? Now I want to talk about a totally different story. This is a few years ago. I was running an event, Beyond the Beers, which is my sometimes out of COVID times event for men, where we get together and take a beer with mates to new depths and actually talk about the shit that matters. Now, this was in Brisbane. It was the first time I'd run this event in Brisbane. We had 80-something guys coming to the room. If you know it, the 4X Brewery in Brisbane. And I had a pretty high profile former NRL player, football player, and then very prominent businessman coming to speak at my event. Now, I hadn't heard from him the night before, and I started to suspect maybe he's not going to show. Like, I'm not getting any response from his team. What's happening here? But I was so flat out busy getting the event ready. I had like 100 goodie bags to put all that shit in. I didn't have a team to do that for me. So I was busy. I finished doing the goodie bags like 10 p.m. at night, and then I needed to get the fuck to sleep. I had a big day coming up. So at one point, when I started doing those goodie bags and I hadn't heard anything, I thought, what happens if it doesn't turn up? I need a plan B. And so I enacted a plan B, which was speaking to a couple of the other speakers and, putting it to them that if this happened, would they be willing to shift and change, so instead of him speaking, you'll speak there, and then we'll have an interview here instead of me interviewing him and da. Those people, there was 2 of them, said, yes, I can happily step into those roles. I couldn't ask them to do a keynote, which is what this guy was going to do, because a last minute keynote is very hard, but a conversation on stage led by me is very different. So we kind of set that in motion, and I got to purposely filling in the goodie bags and this kind of thing. The next day, we start the event at 9 a.m. It's 10 to 9, and this dude hasn't turned up. So I turned to my 2 other guys, and I indicate to them, I'm like, we're on here for plan B. You good? Yes. You good? Yes. And then we're away. 9 o'clock starts. I voice it to the room when we start. Now, here's something that I want to inform you guys of. XYZ dude was supposed to turn up here. He's not here. Can't speak to why that is right now. And I just gave the honest take. Can't speak to why that is right now. Either way, we're going to pivot and you'll have a great day. We good? We're good. Now, at the end of the day, people were like, you didn't even need to say that. And for me, with integrity and purpose, was like, I needed to. Because some people possibly turned up here to hear this dude talk. And so for me, if I squash that and don't voice it, then that's weird. That's almost sneaky. One, it lacks honesty, integrity for me. And 2, the purpose of this event was to support these men in a few things. 1, getting together. 2, understanding that we all have shit. And when we keep it all to ourselves and we don't have the skills and the resources and the support to work through it and understand it and get to the other side of it, so we don't keep fucking living in it, we suffer. The people we care about suffers. So my part of the purpose was to get that across to men, and then have them experience a day where they see me and other men just like them talk, share some of our truth, some of our struggles, some of our inspirations and challenges, and overcoming those things, so they can see real men who they can relate to, so they can start to connect to, holy shit, those guys are like me, they've got shit too. Oh my God, maybe some of that stuff that I carry around in my imaginary backpack, all my baggage, maybe I don't need to carry all that around. Maybe I can find this kind of stuff in my life too. Maybe I can work on myself. Maybe I can get past all the shit that keeps me stuck where I don't want to be stuck. The purpose was to facilitate these men and having some amazing pieces of awareness, implementing some actions out of that day, potentially creating some friendships, some connections where they can do that. Part of the purpose was to support these men and stepping into who they can be. Now, the reason that I could not give too much energy and attention to that dude not turning up and letting it derail the entire day was because I was connected to the purpose of the event. The purpose of the event was not that dude. Even if some guys did come to hear him speak, that was not the purpose, or any of the purposes, because there was a few of them, as I've just discussed. And so whilst some people were like, holy shit, I can't believe, because this is context, couldn't believe you handled that so well. That dude didn't turn up. Well, I was connected into, what's the purpose of this? The purpose is the experience of the men in front of me, not that dude right there. I'll deal with that dude another time. And the extension of that is, I will never deal with that dude again, because you don't fucking stand me up like that. That's rude, bro. That is disrespectful. And so I was able to deliver a kick-ass event for those men because that was the purpose. You getting me? It's very different stories here of purpose. And so one of the things that this really speaks to with purpose is knowing the reasons, is being clear on your intentions. And that is essentially, that's the name of the module in Everyday Legends Academy that we do. It's called being intentional, knowing your reasons, being clear on them, and knowing why and where they take you. Because this is the importance of purpose. I see so many men that are in a very similar place. I'm going to sum it up. These kind of things, they feel lost, they feel stuck, they feel floating, unsure, indecisive, frustrated. You know, this kind of like, there's something more for me. I don't really know what it is. I'm kind of acting from fear a lot. That might not be the thing that they voice, but it's going on. I'm stuck in my head. I'm terrified of taking a big step. I want to do something more meaningful with my life. I don't know how. I don't know why. I'm too terrified. What if it doesn't work out? I'm terrified of the unknown. All these things and more, to me, are clear symptoms of lacking purpose and lacking understanding of our drivers, and therefore what we want and why we want it. And so one of the key mistakes that we often do as we've bought into this idea of finding the purpose, your one purpose. When we're in that place, the idea is actually to dig into that lack of clarity, that feeling of stuck, of unsure, of lost, and explore why I'm feeling that way and what's missing. And what we'll see is it's a lack of purpose. It's a lack of clarity and purpose on who you are, on what you want for yourself, and why you want it. And by the way, this isn't just a solo, self-centered thing. For so many men, we derive purpose from being of service and use to others, of making a contribution to those around us. That's a human thing. It's a very human trait to want to make a difference and to be of contribution and be of service to those around us. Humans evolved in a tight, groups, and you needed to have use, some purpose. Not this is your purpose, but have some purpose. That might change moment to moment. It might expand and shrink depending on your stage of life and so on. But when that's lacking, the aim, first of all, is not to go, well, let me find it. No, first of all, let's understand why you are where you are. Your first purpose is to figure yourself out, see what's missing. And we'll usually see that that's rooted in a lack of personal meaning, which is first of all rooted in a lack of personal understanding. Often we don't even know our values. Some guys, I see it often. Here's my values, bang, 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 bang. Nice little list. Cool, looks good. Get someone to design that, put it on a wall. It's fancy. But do you truly know what those values mean? What are the purpose of those values for you? And what we'll start to see when we really explore ourselves initially is that a lot of our purpose has been led by our shit, to avoid rejection or judgment, to not be seen as a failure, to not fuck up, to earn money and create financial security, to become successful, to provide for a family, to feel safe. A lot of that stuff, whilst great and of service to others, let's say our family, if that financial security thing is the thing, then it's still based in security and certainty and survival, feeling safe. That doesn't take us anywhere forward. That's avoiding not being safe. And the more my life is derived and driven by avoiding something, not being this, then I'm running through my life looking over my shoulder. And when I am avoiding something, not being safe, not being financially secure, I can never see where I'm going. And where I'm going or going somewhere forward-based is based in purpose. And so we see that a lot of our purpose has been avoiding this shit over here. And that's never going to take us anywhere meaningful. To get out of pain takes me to a place where I'm neutral, and then pain comes back in. One of the things that happens for a lot of guys, the purpose is to not be seen. I hide, I don't speak up, or I put the mask on, I'm overt, but the real me isn't being seen, right? And it's this idea that Francis Weller talks about of getting to the grave without ever being seen or hurt. So, there's a tombstone that says, safe at last. What a fucking grim purpose that is. And so a lot of our work is to undo that shit and find the things in life that have meaning to you, that bring you a sense of purpose. Which is why that huge mistake and misnomer of trying to find our one purpose will always lead us in the same place, that loop of expectation and not meeting that. So here is what I want to invite you to do today. There is a teaching that I mentioned earlier that dives into this, that brings together a wonderful example that will squash this belief in you and make it very clear for you where you can apply it to your life to see how this hasn't been working. And therefore, we will talk about how you can really understand and connect to living with purpose. This teaching, Finding Purpose and Mini Course, is a sneak behind the curtains of the work inside Everyday Legends Academy. This is a really, really simple and affordable way for you to get an insight into the work that we do. This is one small teaching inside 6 months that you can get without having to spend thousands of dollars, so that you can break down this mistake. And in doing so, give you the path and permission to live with purpose. Then you'll be able to understand those people that you see and deem as living with purpose will make so much more sense. And you understand you don't have to be some amazing person, but you just got to connect to the principles, and then you become that in your life. Not about becoming the greatest person in the world, but it's about shifting your world, the choices you make every day. And that starts today with investing in this teaching on finding purpose, and therefore bringing in the purpose of learning and applying yourself to it, and setting the intention. Here's my invitation for you to live 2022 with purpose. And then trust me, once you do that, like confidence is a byproduct, the rest will start to take care of itself. Now, if you watch this teaching and think this really aligns with you and you want more of it, remember that it is one small piece of teaching, one tiny sneak behind the curtain of the work that we do in ELA in the Everyday Legends Academy world. The rest is available for men willing and wanting to explore having me and my team and a community of purpose-driven men in your corner. So here's the invitation. Depending on when you're listening to this, when I'm recording it, it's before Christmas 2021. What a perfect gift to get yourself. The gift of understanding and therefore being able to live with purpose. And one of the reasons that I've put this out into the world with a small investment and price tag is because we apply ourselves with purpose to something when we have invested in it, when we have buy-in. That is one of the purposes of price tag, of investment, is so that I am invested in it. I have buy-in. Give this away for free. Maybe it falls in your newsfeed for half a day and then it disappears. What purpose is that? So my invitation is to invite you to see the worth in yourself, invest a small amount of money in yourself, have buy-in, and then consume this, sit with this, and apply this teaching to your own life. Purpose is a big subject. Men need purpose. The masculine needs to apply ourselves to something meaningful to achieve a result. In days gone by as the old hunter, that meant providing for our family, protecting. The ways in which we do that now often are this conditioned way of just earning as much money as we can. There are many ways in which you can derive purpose and meaning, but it needs clarity. And that's what I invite you with, hopefully, this podcast and this teaching. So again, if you want to get your hands on this, hit the website attached to wherever you find this podcast, and you'll be able to find it there. It's available all the time from now. Otherwise, I hope you've got something from this. If you have, please share it with someone, a man who you think could benefit from this and might be struggling with that idea of purpose. This is the avenue to starting. It is a big subject. We have to keep exploring it. If you feel stuck, if you feel like there's more for you, more in you, you don't know how to get it, this work is for you. Otherwise, I've been your host, Mike Campbell. Thank you for listening. Remember to like us, subscribe with us, click first, download, all that stuff. If you haven't left us a review, then please do so. The purpose of which being, it helps this get in front of more men. That is purposeful work. All right, head off. live with purpose, build that legendary integrity. And that's me. Until next time. See you, legend. You've been listening to the Everyday Legends podcast, the show that is dedicated to championing everyday men and supporting you in getting more from life, love, and the everyday. If this podcast has benefited you, if you enjoyed this, then my request, my invitation is to share this with a man that you think will also benefit from this and enjoy this. Remember, please, wherever you find your podcast, to like us, subscribe to us, click download first, leave us a review. All those things both make sure you get all the updates when they come in, and it supports us in getting this podcast in front of more everyday men that could use it. Until next time, I've been Mike Campbell. Remember to build that legendary integrity. And remember, everyday men, we thrive when we are championed, when we are supported, when we are appreciated and recognized for who we choose to be in the world. Here is my invitation to both show up and be that everyday legend, and to continue to champion the everyday men in your life.